Alright, so here we want to talk about something that's perhaps more often used in video, but I couldn't find somebody to serve as a guinea pig, so I decided to just do a little walk sequence in Poser and Carrara. So I asked this dude here to walk for me. He's walking on lava, but doesn't seem to bother him too much. Anyway, the goal here is to mask his face, to put something like this in front of him, right? So here's a black rectangle that was placed in front. What we really want is not just on a single frame, but to have that over an entire video sequence. Here's a short one of 120 frames. That will be about 4 seconds long if we play it at 30 frames a second. And so what we'll do is we'll load the AVI file, and after we've done the process, after the processing, what you'll see is that this triangle or this rectangle or whatever shape your brush has is going to track the face and cover it up. Now this is one way to do it. This is what we call a traveling matte. This is one way to do it. There is another way, which is really sort of a curve, and we use the curve approach for that, where you can have the curve tool basically define the outline of a alpha selection mask. But in this case here, I'll use the more traditional approach that we have actually had for a couple of releases, and it's still great and actually gets better and faster every time. So here's the approach we'll use. We'll use the load AVI to load our original video, and the original video is right here. Right, so let's look at it one more time. There is. Now the face is kind of looking at us all the time, except towards the end it's kind of getting small and a little bit at a different angle. Still, we can probably cover that in our tracker. We can probably track this this area here with the nose, or maybe all the way down to the mouth. Focusing on the nose, and the eyes will help as well as a sort of a pattern to look for. Alright, so what's the tool to do this? The tool I'm going to use is the brush keyframer. And basically what we need for that is a brush image that contains that black rectangle. I've already created one, but I'll show again how to do that. Here I'm just going to store it, and it really doesn't look like much. It's just a black, well, here looks like a square because we just put it into a square. But what we'll need to do is look at the animation menu here and look for the brush keyframer. Alright, in the brush keyframer it grabs a copy of that video, and there it is. And we can go and get the brush and place this brush wherever we want it. That's not what we want to do though, because we would have to kind of manually track it and say, oh wait, let's move it over here now, right? And then move it a few frames later over here, and that's just manual, tedious work we may not want to do. This is one way you can do that though, but let's see if we can automate this process. Alright, so what we'll do is we'll use the tracker. There is a track point option right there. This is an option to track a particular point of interest. Alright, let's click that. And the motion tracker has essentially a center point that you see here, and then also a search area, the red area around it. The center of interest, the block size here, is really what you're trying to keep track of. Where is it moving? So what you want to do is place this thing around here, and it actually helps if you don't have a custom brush selected at that point yet. But I already had one, so we'll just live with that. Set the size, maybe here to the max, so it covers the entire face. And then, you know, depending on how quickly this thing moves, you might tighten it a little bit if you know it's only moving very slowly. But if for any reason you suspect it might lose track of it, just give it a little bit bigger search area. Alright, let's one more time adjust it a little bit and double check here on the block size. Alright, so what else do we have here as options? Well, just about the motion tracker, a quick brief description of how it works. And also here a choice, which is to use the previous frame as a reference or use this frame only for reference. Alright, so if you know, let's try the first way, and if that doesn't work, I'll try the other way. Now let's go and track it. And with any luck, it'll be able to lock on to that beautiful face every frame and create a keyframe for where that brush needs to go through along the way. Once we've done that, we can actually change the brush before we actually render it across that path. And so that's the beauty of it, is that at this point we have separated the creation of the path with the rendering of the brush along that path. So right now we are tracking the face in order to create a path for the brush, and then we have lots of choices as to what we want to do with it. So here we have a path. Every single position was keyframed, as you can see down there. I think we can resize this a little bit. Yep. Doesn't matter if the aspect ratio isn't maintained in this preview, but you see every single keyframe here, every single frame has been keyframed. And now with this current brush in effect, we can actually have it go and stay in front of his face. The problem though, it looks a little bit odd. Right now it's kind of going from ear to ear, and then towards the end it's way bigger because actually his head is shrinking, right, in his perspective view as the camera zooms out. So what we may want to do is also change the scale of the brush at that point. Let's see what happens if we do this, alright, and maybe keyframe it there. Well, no luck. This is a keyframe for every single frame. Alright, so we would have to do that, and you can see it jumps on the last frame to the new size. But we will have to live without this if we want every single frame to be used here. Alright, so there are other solutions and other things we can do. For instance, instead of rendering this particular brush along this path, let's go grab another one. Let's say we wanted a portion of this bright sun here, or maybe this reddish tint down here, or some cloud pattern or something. Let's just go pick that up. Here's the custom brush pickup tool. Let's say we want this part here with the white and a little bit of the gray dark, and then white again below it. Well, yellow white, right? So that's the brush image. Let's go get the brush, and so now we have that brush image right in here. And again, it can track it all along. Alright, so there you go. So now you can simply, oh, maybe we want to actually not have the bright white part there. Well, that's something we can eliminate with the color keying. Right click this same custom brush tool, and that goes into the brush selector key. And you can go and identify what parts you want to actually make transparent or visible, opaque. Let's say transparent. Let's click the brighter areas around it here and trim it down a little bit so that we have a nice opaque center and a little bit of a blending into the outside. Alright, so with that you can still go around here and grab the outer area, and let's store this brush so we have a safe copy of it right there, and let's grab it into the brush keyframer. Let's get the brush, and there it is. Now one thing you can also do is you can look at the different modes here. You can look the opaque, you can use the opaque mode, or you can use the additive mode, where it's going to actually modify the color. You would still see the eyes back there. You could subtract it, make it a bit creepy black, dark, screen mode, which combines the two in another way, and show me where the colors are greater than or less than. Show me the darker side. You know, all sorts of different ways to highlight it or mess it up, right? So what I'm gonna do is go stay back with the opaque mode here. We have a little bit of a line at the bottom here, so that is not quite ready yet, and so I'm going to need to go back here and see if I can give it a little bit more tolerance here on the low or the high pass, and go and store that one. And grab this one. Where do we have that? In the brush keyframer. Get the brush right there. Right, so now it's a little bit cleaner. We don't see the bottom line there below it, but we still have the path that was created during the motion track, and we can certainly use that to cover the eyes. Alright, let's go do that. Let's render it out. You know, it looks like he's peeking a little bit down there, right? So we might actually want to go with a black one there too. Let's go a really narrow bit, but totally black. Maybe with his hair there. Let's go and grab, where is it? Let's get rid of these, don't need those anymore. Let's go get this one, and let's say we make it a little bit more of a shape like this, right? And then when we grab it in here, get the brush, it's too small. So what you can do is you can scale it up now, but if you scale it here, remember that we have the keyframes that's gonna not really do a good job at it because every keyframe is going to say how scaled it is. So what we really need to do is scale it at the source, and that's with the brush. As we store and manage it here, we have options to scale it up bigger, and then when we go back to the brush keyframer, we'll have a bigger one now. Now if that's not big enough, what you do is you actually go to the brush menu, which is mostly for the custom brushes here, and we resample it right there. Okay, that, and then resample it again if you need to go one more time. So you can resample that again, resample the brush, and let's say we make it way too big, just to demonstrate the point there, right? And we go get the brush, and there, so we now have this black box over his head all together, right? Now again, we can scale it down here and adjust it, but the keyframe that this is on is where it's going to go. All the other keyframes are going to be at their own. So, you know, if you want to change the size, you're going to have to do that probably at the source, at the brush itself, because we have all these frames keyframed now through the motion tracker. Anyway, let's go render that. Render this over his head, and that certainly will keep him. That certainly will keep him anonymous, and make sure nobody knows who that guy is.